it's John from What Up, and welcome back to another video. Now, we have a lot to unpack today. First things first, we're going to discuss that Wheel of Time teaser that was dropped on Twitter by the Wheel of Time on Prime Twitter account. Now, if you don't follow them already on Twitter, there is a link down below in the description box to their Twitter. Please follow them. They do something pretty cool almost every Wednesday. That's where a lot of the castings come from. This teaser came from their Twitter account. A lot of the official news comes from there, too. It seems to be their most preferred method of communicating with fans. So please follow them there. So what we're going to do is we'll show you the teaser, we'll talk about it a bit, and then we're going to get into some other news. Rafe Judkins took to Twitter after the teaser was released, and he answered a couple of questions about the Wine Spring Inn. And then we're going to get into talking about filming start dates, how long they're going to be filming, and some extra casting calls. So there's some more information there too. Before we get into any of that, however, spoiler warning. In this video, I'm going to be discussing The Eye of the World, Book 1 of the Wheel of Time series. So if you haven't read at least to the very end of Book 1 of that series, be forewarned, I may ruin certain character arcs or plot points or scenes in that book for you. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get on to the video. Alright, so first things first, we're going to show you the teaser. It's all over social media. If you're on social media at all, you've probably already seen it. So it's been all over Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and you name it, it's everywhere. It's on Reddit as well. But we're still going to show it to you here because I want to discuss it afterwards. So we'll do that first. So without further ado, here's the teaser. Pretty cool, huh? I mean, I was super excited to see it. I watched it a whole bunch, and it's really a very, very short clip. But when Wheel of Time on Prime tweeted this out, they tweeted it with a quote, and the quote was, and I have to read it here, "You want stories?" Tom Maryland declaimed. "I have stories, and I will give them to you. I will make them come alive before your eyes." Pretty cool. I mean, that's super neat. I mean, whoever did this, set this up, awesome. So, when we get into talking about this, we're going to talk a little bit about how it was filmed or how they think it was shot, but then I want to talk more about the points, the way things look in this picture, the still we have up here on the screen. So Lauren from Unravelling the Pattern did a very deep dive into this. As you all know, he knows a lot about animation. He knows a lot about what you can do through special effects and visual effects. So he broke it down and he went through this like it was very detailed. It was a really good video. I enjoyed it. I've left a link to that in the description box down below. I'm going to reference a couple of things he said with this, but not much. If you really want to deep dive into how it was created or how he thought it was created, your best bet is to watch his video, so you can go watch that when you're done here. So, from what Lauren has said, it looks to be mostly animation and stills. It's not actual physical video that they've shot, so it's not like they were on set and they did a pan up of the Wine Spring Inn or anything. It was stills. And he believes the smoke from the chimney was animation, and he believes the birds were animation as well. So let's talk about this a bit. We get to see, I mean, we've seen leaked set photos. We've also seen the official set photo that Wheel of Time on Prime released a couple of months ago of Emonds Field. So we've seen this before. This isn't exactly brand new. However, there's a couple of things in this that's kind of new. So when the Wine Spring Inn is described in the book, and I'm not going to get into the full description of it, what they're showing here is slightly different than what is described in the book. Main reason being, I think they described it as having a dozen or more chimneys. This one just has the one. They describe it being a little bit bigger than it is in the book, but I mean, it's hard to tell because we don't get a real good shot of everything all at once. They also describe the stables as being nearby, and it's the only building, and this I'm stressing, the only building in Emonds Field that has a tile roof, a red tile roof. Everyone else uses thatch because Senbui, of course, is the thatcher, and his whole job is to make sure everybody has those thatch roofs and they're repaired really well, and there's no storks, ruining them for Bel Tine. So, when we've seen from the leaked photos and stuff earlier was that's not the case. I mean, a lot of the buildings are a little bit different than described in the books. They don't have thatch roofs. Most of them have what appear to be either tile or wood shingles. And the Emonds Field Wine Spring Inn. Kind of looks like it could have tile, like it says in the books here, but we're not entirely sure because without getting a really close look at things, it's hard to tell. But we do know that there are some changes. Now, the tree that's in this shot is not specifically described because the way they talk about it is the road opens up to the green. There's the green space, which coincidentally at the beginning of the Eye of the World is mostly yellow and patchy. There's very little grass there. There's a couple of dozen geese on it pecking at the ground, and somebody had tied up a milk cow when we first see the green, trying to crop at the sparse grass, because the way they describe it is it's a winter that basically never came and everything is dead, so it's a very long drab fall, and that's not exactly the case in these pictures. In this video, it looks a little bit, I would say, nicer, a little bit greener than maybe it should be, but Lauren does break that down too and says a lot of this is probably not final work, it's post-production work and it's animation work. So there's all of that. So the way the teaser begins, that it opens up in a description of the Wine Spring Inn, which is amazing, and then it just kind of pans up, and it pans up to the inn itself, and everything is blurry. So you have the background blurry, the inn itself is a little blurry, the tree's blurry, everything is a little bit more focused on the book. It's hard to really make out fine details, and I'm sure that's on purpose, because I'm sure they're not quite ready to show everything in all its HD glory just yet. So when they talk about this stuff here, there's a couple of birds flying around, and I've seen a lot of fans get very upset over these two little birds and the chirping. Like they're really, really upset about this because they think it has a Disney vibe, and that Disney princess will burst out of the barn or burst out of the inn and start singing at any moment. Really? I mean, I didn't get that at all, not even a little bit. All I got was that it was super magical, calm, and amazing. That's what I get out of seeing this. I guess you could kind of equate it to, it looks a little bit like maybe a scene from Beauty and the Beast, maybe, especially the birds chirping, I guess. But I didn't, that's not what I thought of at all when I seen it. Now, it's been speculated that the two birds are ravens. I'm going to go with that because that's pretty cool thinking about that, because for those of you who read the book, in the first few chapters, a raven alights in one of the roofs when they're outside the inn, and both Rand and Matt get kind of upset at it, and they try to hit it with stones, and Moraine's there, and that's when they first meet Moraine, and they start talking about filthy carrion eaters and the ravens and how they're bad and stuff like that, and then that's how she introduces themselves as Mistress Alice. So it's pretty cool that maybe that could possibly be a little bit of a nod or an Easter egg to that scene in the book with this teaser. Although that may also be far-fetched because the birds we hear chirping they're songbirds. They're not. I mean, if anyone out there knows birds, you could probably tell me which birds they were. I don't know exactly, but I know they're not ravens or crows because you don't hear the harsh caws that they give off. So that's the teaser. I'm pretty excited about it. Again, we've seen a few differences from the book. The Wine Spring Inn is not exactly the same. The tree is never described as being on the green. And the building next to it here in the picture, I'm going with probably stables. Probably. Not entirely sure, though, because the stables could also be on the other side of the inn in Emonds Field. We don't know for sure. But I'm going to say it's probably the stables for the inn, and they wanted to show it that way. Really cool way of kind of ending off the weekly reread of The Eye of the World, and really neat for Wheel of Time and Prime to do that. Like, really, really cool. So there's that. Then after all this happened, Rafe Judkins took to Twitter, and he basically said, to celebrate Wheel of Time Prime's first glimpse of the Wine Spring, I'll answer the first 3 questions I get about it on here. Go. I was nowhere near Twitter at the time, so I didn't even have a shot at getting one of the first 3 questions. So the lucky people that did, congrats. It's so awesome that you're able to do so. And he did answer the questions. So, first question here was by Daniel, and it was, what were your thoughts walking through it for the first time? Rafe replied, absolutely one of the most emotional moments in the show for me so far. Just standing in the center of Emonds Field felt totally surreal. Looking up at the red roof of the inn, the trouble they've gone to give each house and villager a profession and a life there, it was amazing. This is pretty much, I think, how a fan would talk. I mean, showrunners, yes, they're in charge of things. The shows end up becoming very personal to them, but Rafe's a fan. He likes the series. He said it a number of times. And I can imagine myself, if I was allowed to walk onto that set, I would probably blubber like a baby. I would not be able to hold it back. I'd be exceptionally emotional because of how much it would mean to me. And him saying this, I can see that as well. Next question was from Luz Taren. Does it smell like honey cakes and fresh bread? In the books, that's a lot of talk about honey cakes, fresh bread, things like that, and you kind of visualize the smells, or you think about the smells when you're reading the book series. I'm kind of hoping they do something of that nature when they show show it on screen. I'd like to see that. But the answer was, it mostly smells like ginger tea, which anyone who spent time on the Wheel of Time set would tell you, it's probably because a lot of the cast and crew drinks ginger tea. It's my guess. I don't know for sure. But there were honey cakes that the wasps and hornets couldn't get enough of, so we had to spray them with a wasp repellent. But they didn't tell me, and I ate one. So essentially, Rafe's confirming that he's in Ant-Man the Wasp in stature. He's going to be the new The Wasp character. No, I'm just joking. That's pretty gross. Ate a bunch of wasp repellent. Anybody telling him, and he's the boss, so I'm sure someone got in trouble for that. All right, so the last question here is a doozy. This is the biggest thing, I think, other than the teaser. And we'll get into that in a second. So, do we see the Bel Tine Celebration? Rafe Judkins says this one might be a spoiler, especially for Winternight enthusiasts, but yes. And Mr. Judkins, it's not just might be a spoiler, it is a massive spoiler. So, and we'll talk about this. In the books, we don't see Bel Tine at all. It's not something we see. So, we already know that this is the second confirmed deviation from the book series. The first one was that Master Hightower dies crossing the river. When they do the river crossing at Taren Ferry, that was from metadata from a picture that came out of Brandon Sanderson's newsletter a while ago, and I did a video on that a long time ago. This one, they are confirming 100% we're seeing Bel Tine. So, let's set the stage for this. In the books, Winternight is the night that Rand's farm is attacked and Tam is injured, and then he makes his way towards the town. The town itself, Emonds Field, is attacked. The forge, Matt's house, a couple of their houses and stuff are torched. The villagers are in the streets fighting Trollocs. Land is a whirlwind with a sword defending them. Moraine is throwing balls of fire and lightning around. Going to be epic to see. It's going to be amazing. That all happens Winternight. That happens the eve prior to Bel Tine. Then Rand comes into town. The Wisdom tries to heal his father, Tam. She can't, so he ends up finding Moraine. Moraine heals Tam, and then he gets to talk with Tam for a bit, but then they leave. So they leave that night. So Moraine and Lan, Rand, Perrin and Matt, and Egwene, as well as Tom Maryland, all leave Emonds Field still in Winternight. Very, very late Winternight, maybe early Bel Tine morn, but they're leaving that night. We don't get to see the celebrations. Rafe is telling us we see the celebration. So that's a major deviation from the book. Major. It's a big thing. Probably not something that most people who've read the series will even notice when watching the show, because it kind of sounds like they're going to make it so you're not going to notice. But to me, this means one of three things. First thing is the Trollocs still attack Winternight. Everything happens as is. Emonds Field people and Moraine and Lan and Tom still leave that night, but the next day we see a Bel Tine celebration, kind of showcasing how resilient the Two Rivers folk are, and how they act in the face of adversity. I mean, that would be an excellent way of initially portraying their culture in that sense. I think that would be probably best. Plus, we get to see Bel Tine, which would be amazing. That'd be really cool. Second thing is maybe the Trollocs don't attack on Winternight. It's possible. Maybe they attack Bel Tine Eve. So we get to see the celebrations, we get to see everything else, and then the Trollocs come in that night. The problem with that is Tam and Rand would probably be in Emonds Field for the celebration. So the farm isn't attacked. That would mean that Tam doesn't get injured there. That would mean that maybe they don't see Narg there. It would mean maybe Rand doesn't get to hear the fever dreams his father have. It gives him the first inklings ever that he is not Tam's son. They would have to change a lot of that to happen in town, which may not work as well. So that's the second option, but there's some problems with that. Third option is, we see the Trollocs attack Winternight, and then the Emonds Field people stay that night afterwards because they're not leaving right away. They stay for Bel Tine celebrations the next day, and then after the celebrations are over, they leave. So those are my three takes on what could happen. More than likely, what I think is going to happen is the first one. I think that we'll see, just like the books, Rand's farm is attacked, then we'll see Winternight attack, then we'll see the Emonds Field people leave, then the next day they'll show clips of Bel Tine. That's what I think is going to happen. All right. So let's carry on here. There was another question. Actually, there was way more than one other question, but this one he responded to. Someone asked for the trailer date. And Rafe said, I said first 3 questions about the Wine Spring. Ha. So he's not going to answer that. We'll see a trailer when we see a trailer. My guess is probably not for a while yet. We just got a teaser. They're going to say that's enough for now. All right, the next bit of news we're going to talk about is extra films. They do extra casting for a lot of stuff in the EU, and we've talked about them a number of times before here on the channel. They do extra casting for Project W. Now, Project W is Wheel of Time. They're terrible at hiding the fact that it's Wheel of Time, and we all know, as Wheel of Time fans, that they're talking about an Amazon production W, it's Wheel of Time. So, they're basically saying that filming is starting September 7th, which was a few days ago, so filming has already started. Which we knew because all the cast was coming back to Prague, and Kate Fleetwood was talking about fitting for her wig and whatnot on Twitter. So we knew the cast was back there and they're getting ready to gear up. But this gives us confirmation that they're starting filming on the 7th, and that they're going to film for 65 days, which is a fair block of time for 2 episodes. So the episodes are probably pretty epic in scope. There's probably a fair bit going on, and it also will probably give them some time for reshoots. So they talk about some other projects that they're doing here and some other dates for that and how to register. So for any of you folks who watch this channel that are in the EU, that are able to be on set for production, that can apply for these things, please do so and then let me know. Let me live vicariously through you. I would love to be there myself, but of course it's not in the cards. It's not going to happen. But if you can, please let me know, because I'd love to hear about it. Then they go on to say that they're looking for twins, 9 to 15 months old, ideally with darker skin and hair, into the American series Interestingly Honored. So this, I believe this is for Project W, is what they're talking about here. I believe it's for the Wheel of Time series because it's the American series they're talking about. And they're also talking about filming dates that last until December. So in the days between September 30th until December. So that's the only production they really talked about that had that time frame in this particular message. So the twins are probably going to be for Project W. If they're not, feel free to let me know. But the way I read this and took it, and again it's translated, so it may be because of the translation, is that they're looking for twins for Project W. Now, why are they casting twins? Well, it's pretty well-known fact for even people who are not in the movie industry that the laws surrounding children and infants working are really strict and really stringent with good reason. So if you have twins, you can have an infant work for X number of hours a day where they're allowed to work, and then when they can't work anymore, you take their twin in. And then they can work for X number of hours a day. So you can get more shots in and more time filming, because if they're twins, they're going to look the same. Ideally, identical twins is what they're looking for here. So they can get more time filming with the children. So twins 9 to 15 months old with darker skin and hair. What could that mean for the final 2 episodes? Well, I'm kind of on the fence about that. I really don't know. It could be that they're going to talk a bit about different things happening in the borderlands, and they're showing infants and things like that. It could be that they're going back towards the 2 rivers and showing things there. It could be flashbacks. It could be any number of things. Could even be for reshoots from things earlier in the season, but they're only going to be shooting 4 to 5 days, so it's probably not going to be a fairly big scene with these infants in it. I am kind of stumped on what these infants could be for, other than background extras, which is quite possible. I don't know. So here's my challenge to you guys. So in the comments down below, let me know what you think these twins are going to be used for. So was an infant between the age of 9 to 15 months with dark skin and hair going to be used for the last 2 episodes of The Wheel of Time, or reshoots? Reshoots are 100% a possibility as well. What could it mean? What do you think is going to happen? And again, if you do like what I'm doing here on the channel, please like the video. It keeps the YouTube metrics happy. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. We're growing steadily day by day, and the more subscribers that I have, the more content I can give you guys. And I really enjoy doing this, and I plan on doing this for a very long time. So I want to thank you all very much for that. All right, so that's all I have for you for today. Like I said, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think the infants are for, and also how I'm doing, or any other questions you may have. All right, thank you so much, and here's to many more.